Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be specifically talking about whether you as a game master are choosing to be Doctor Who in your TRPG play, or whether you are choosing to be Jeff Nobles. Jeff Noble. So Doctor Who and Jeff Noble are both characters from the Doctor Who television show, the second launching of the series, right? So I was really never a fan of Doctor Who original, but me and my entire family, we all started Doctor Who with Christopher Eccleston, and that was our first Doctor. And then we watched through David Tennant, and we watched through Matt Smith, and then we watched through the Capaldi, the latest, and we're big fans of Doctor Who, right? So we really enjoy Doctor Who. So one of the things I've been thinking about recently is tabletop role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons specifically, and the entire tabletop role-playing game genre, and how they relate to Doctor Who, and how Doctor Who and Jeff Noble are really an excellent understanding of the styles of play that are being chosen within TRPG at the macro level, okay? And what I'm going to try to do today is tell you, hey, you have the ability to be, specifically the Doctor Who character. Don't choose to be Jeff Noble. Right? Okay. All right. So with that said, let's get into it. All right. So you have this situation where basically, if you look at the TRPG industry now, right, it really is at an incredible period where there are really incredible mainstream hits, mainstream high-quality tabletop role-playing games that come out of the Fizzy Five, the five TRPG companies that have a physical headquarters in the U.S. that make tabletop role-playing games. And, of course, those are Monte Cook Games, Wizards of the Coast, Paizo. You also have Evil Hat in there, and Fantasy Flight Games. Okay, and basically all of them are making just tremendous games out of incredible art, really good writing, really unique and interesting prospects for their worlds, great layout, all of that, right? And there's literally just dozens of amazing games that come out from them. You have Modifius, who's an international, who's making some really unique games that are at the same level of quality as the Fizzy Five. And they've got a whole slew of really, really awesome games out there. And then also you have the indie tabletop role-playing game scene, and Dungeon World, and Powered by Apocalypse. You have games like Night Witches and Index Card RPG, Gallant Knight Games with their Tiny D6 engine for Tiny Dungeon 2E, Tiny Mecha, Tiny Supers is coming out. There's just a whole really robust set of worlds and games that you can be experiencing. But really, the part I want to focus on today is worlds, right? So I've said this for a while, and one of the things I'm trying to do is communicate how using source books and going deep on some of these tabletop role-playing games really makes you a weaker tabletop role-playing game player and a weaker tabletop role-playing game. It actually makes you more specifically a weaker tabletop role-playing game master. I don't think I want to dip into players yet. Let's just stay at the game master level for this, right? So basically, when you think about Doctor Who, okay, Doctor Who is this awesome world-traveling, almost like a superhero, very much like a science fiction superhero. And what you have is this situation where he is just jetting from time to time, dimension to dimension, world to world, planet to planet, and he is all over because he has the TARDIS, right? And the TARDIS allows him to jet from time to time, from planet to planet, from solar system to solar system, from galaxy to galaxy, from universe to universe, from dimension to dimension, right? And he does, right? He just goes everywhere, right? Now let's talk about Jeff Noble, okay? Jeff Noble is Donna Nobles' dad, okay? So Donna Noble was the companion to David Tennant's Doctor, to Doctor Who, right? And she was involved in the episode called The Runaway Bride. She was this really spunky redhead companion not Amy Pond. Okay, she's a little bit, so she's not Amy Pond, right? But Donna Noble was this really wonderful, awesome, short-lived companion of Doctor Who, right? And so you have this really cool lady, Donna Noble, and she's really epic companion. But her dad, she deals with her dad, back in the real world, right? And her dad is very much, he is a creature of Earth, and he stays on Earth. Now, Jeff Noble is a very respectable man, and there's a lot to like about him, but he is earthbound. He doesn't go anywhere. He just stays on Earth. And there's evidence that he's well-traveled, that maybe he's gone to America, or he's gone to the Orient, he's gone to China or Japan. He's traveled Europe, right? All wonderful things, but he is earthbound. Jeff Noble is earthbound. He has spent his life on Earth, and he is incredibly limited in experience and culture and just drama overall compared to the Doctor, compared to Doctor Who, okay? Excuse me. So, what I'm saying is that basically, here it comes, all right? If you take a tabletop role-playing game and you start playing it, and then you buy every single source book and you become a super fan of that tabletop role-playing game, and you camp on that tabletop role-playing game for 5, 10, 15 years, I would even go so low as like to say 3 years. I would say if you're on that thing for 3, 5, 10, 15 years, you have become Jeff Noble, right? If you have one game that forms more than 50% of your tabletop role-playing gaming, then you are Jeff Noble, and you are as a game master, and you are choosing not to be the Doctor, even though you own the TARDIS. If you are a game master, you own the TARDIS, right? You could say, now we're going to move over to Index Card RPG, and we're going to play this really cool Cthulhu game. And then, 6 months later, you can say, okay, now we're going to go over to Star Trek Adventures. And then, 9 months later, you can say, oh, you know what? Now we're going to jump over to City of Mist, right? And, and 3 months after that, you can say, oh, you know what? Now we're going to go back and we're going to play, the Marvel Saga, the card-based, And so you could just go from world to world to world, and just like the Doctor, your players are your companion, right? So if you are camping on a tabletop role-playing game for 3 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, 15 years, or if one tabletop role-playing game is taking more than 50% of your play, then you are choosing to be Jeff Noble, and you are letting your TARDIS sit in a forested area, and that is sad, and it makes you a worse game master. It makes you less creative, and it makes you less skillful, right? Your skills are going to atrophy, right? Now let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, every single word that I just said is true for every single tabletop role-playing game. Well, what about Dungeons and Dragons, right? Is it special? Does it deserve to be played more than 50%? Well, here's the answer. Okay, so one, no. Dungeons and Dragons should never comprise more than 50% of your. You can go up to 49%. As soon as you hit 50%, where 50% of your gameplay is on one tabletop role-playing game, you are choosing to be Jeff Noble. I'm not saying you're a terrible person. I'm just saying, Jeff Noble compared to Doctor Who is incredibly lame, right? It's not. You're not making an evil choice. You're just making yourself sad, right? You're allowing yourself to atrophy as a game master. You're letting your creativity go to waste. You're letting your skill go to waste, and you are really. Look at how much potential and how much drama, how much fun you're denying your companions, right? They're just stuck there on Earth with you when there's 1,000 worlds to be explored, right? And so that's the issue, right? So now, let's talk specifically about Dungeons & Dragons. What is the path for Dungeons & Dragons? Because Dungeons & Dragons has a special path. It's not like any other tabletop role-playing game. So here's how you should play Dungeons & Dragons specifically, if you're a game master, okay? When you come into tabletop role-playing games, you should run Dungeons & Dragons first or within your first year. If you come into the hobby and there's a game that really gets you excited and you want to run that first, no problem. Run a story arc for 3 to 6 months, right? But before your first year is out, you need to run Dungeons & Dragons as a campaign arc. And honestly, it's ideal if you start with Dungeons & Dragons, the current edition. Every single Game Master should start with Dungeons & Dragons current edition. And the reason why is you cannot truly understand tabletop role-playing games if you have not played Dungeons & Dragons. You will always be a subpar Game Master if you are not grounded in the birth of the hobby, the genesis of the hobby, the greatest game that has ever been created by the greatest game designer that has ever lived, which is Gary Gygax. You have to experience it to fully understand what tabletop role-playing games are. Having that lacuna, if you haven't played Dungeons & Dragons, you are like a rock and roll star who has never heard the Beatles, right? You're like an ice skater who doesn't know who Tanya Harding is. Like, it's just, or Nancy Kerrigan, or you can't do it, right? You have to experience. So Dungeons & Dragons is the gateway that we come to tabletop role-playing games through. Another way, so it is the gate, right? It is the gate into the tabletop role-playing game community, and you must pass through it. If you are in the TRPG community and you have not come through the gate of Dungeons & Dragons, then you have come into, this area not through the official channels. Not, basically, you're not going to have what you need to be a full participating member of that community, right? There's going to be a lacuna within you, right? A missing, like a space that's missing inside you. You have to come in through Dungeons & Dragons. The other thing is, then, to me, once you get rolling, right, you should go ahead and explore all the worlds that are out there. But then you should also go back and make sure you're grounded in every single edition of Dungeons & Dragons. I don't think you need to run every single edition. I have. But I definitely think you need to own it, and you need to have read all 3 of the core books. Tabletop Role-Playing, the MM, the PHP, the DMG, right? You need 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 4th edition, and 5th edition, right? You need those physical books. It's absolutely critical, right? And of course, I'm talking the deep end of the pool. If you want to be some schlub Game Master out there, and there's plenty of them, right? You don't need to go down this path. But if you want to swim in the deep end of the pool, this is the path, right? And so I think it's really critical to understand that is, Dungeons & Dragons is the gate that we come through, right? But the reality is, even Dungeons & Dragons should never be more than 50% of your play. Or you are choosing, and I'm not saying no one has the right to do it. I'm saying when you choose to do this, you are choosing to be Jeff Noble, and you are taking your TARDIS, and you are the Doctor living like Jeff Noble. You're Doctor Who living like Jeff Noble. You're taking your TARDIS, and you're putting it in a forested area, and you're going around eating bangers and mash when you could be, 3 galaxies away doing something cool with alien peoples and saving worlds, and your companion could be at your side. It's sad, and it's just, anybody who owned the TARDIS and let it sit for years in a forest, it's just lame. It's lame. There's not, everybody has the right to do it. It doesn't make you a terrible person. It just makes you a lesser Game Master, right? So I think it's really critical that we understand we as Game Masters are Doctor Who. We have the TARDIS, right? And so we really can go anywhere we want. And we, just like Doctor Who, we should be on 1,000 worlds, right? We are Time Lords, right? So let's not live like we're Jeff Noble. Take care.